I know. Well, if Deb's here, I don't know if we'll have anybody online. Oh my gosh. Right. Wow. Oh, and here it comes. I think it's yeah, Jeopardy. All right. Hello. Good morning. Happy New Year to those who I haven't seen since the new year started. Welcome to Gentle Yoga. Wow. Now you're all going to show up next week too, right? This is just a one-up. I know, right? This weather is wild. We're going to do some sun salutations. The what? The what? Many have not signed in. And yes, and if you haven't signed in, we need you to sign in and just if you run out of lines, put it on the back. We've got one more that just came in. If the back row could move their mats just a little closer together, I bet we could get one more mat in back there. Yeah, stagger your mat a little bit so then the arms. But once we get going, you won't realize how close you are to your neighbor. This is like New York City. We turn into New York. Thank you. I know. I think there's actually count. I know. I can't. When I see like when I start filming when it's steady, I like. Thank you, Joyce. All right. So I know we've probably run out of blocks for everybody. So if you maybe have been practicing for a while and there's somebody new here that you would like to share your 2 blocks with, or you know, there's movements that we do where it helps to have 2 blocks to even out. But when I get to certain movements where we only need 1 block, then it'll be easy to share. Hi, Olivia. Good morning. We've got a packed room here.
Good morning. Well, you're popular.
All right. So does everybody have at least 1 block? Yeah. Okay, awesome. So for those, typically we'll start out in a seat, a cross-legged seat. And if you are experiencing tightness in the knees or the hips to make crossing the legs challenging, you can pop your seat up onto the block and then draw the knees in a little bit closer so that you've got 1 foot under the knee and the other, so that you're finding a tall spine. As we begin to settle, my name's Nancy, for those who I haven't met, and I've had the honor of teaching here at Glen Eagles for 5 years now, so leading this particular class. And then I also come on Tuesdays for intermediate yoga. So that is a new class this year to just take it a step beyond the basics and start working toward balance movements. Excuse me. And then on Wednesdays, I'm here at 1:30 for yoga and meditation. So those are the 3 classes. So when we start out in a seat, to welcome ourselves here to the mat, yes, silence any cell phones or watches or internal devices. You never know. I mean, we're going in that direction. You know, maybe some are more there than we are. Dash of zen and humor, you know. So starting in this comfortable seat, we're looking to ground down through our sits bones and lengthen up through the spine so that you really feel your seat begin to settle and release tension in the thighs. And almost as if there's a string, marionette string attached to the top of your head that's gently lifting the spine taller so that you're able to let the breath start to flow more freely up and down the spine. And then maybe at this point, you're able to soften the gaze or close the eyes completely. And to open class, I've got a little bell that I chime, and it's just a minute of silence to give you that opportunity to tune in. And something that helps is to bring your awareness to really visualize the middle of your brain. Think of your mat as a rectangle of retreat amidst the other demands of your daily life. A space to play and reconnect with your body, your mind, and maybe your spirit. So with that focus, that awareness on the middle of your brain, if the tongue decided to attach itself to the roof of the mouth, soften it. Let it be voluminous in your mouth. And just stay focused on the middle of your brain as we begin this 1 minute. Just keeping your eyes closed or soft. Bring your hands together in front of your heart. And this morning, I invite you to press the palms together toward each other to feel a little bit of activation in and across the chest. Draw the shoulder blades toward each other in the back. And draw the belly in, the navel toward the spine. Just notice this little bit of energy that you're creating. So the physical part of the yoga practice, there's 8 limbs. The physical practice is just one. We invite the body to move in various directions, but all toward the goal of looking for that union, that yoking of mind, body, and spirit. Helping us to maybe listen more deeply inside of our body, to invite in any healing that you might be seeking. Maybe it's just calming whirlings in the mind. Maybe there's a part of your physical body that needs some extra love and attention. So just notice here after we've just spent about 30 seconds. Just pressing the palms gently together. Notice the energy that you're creating. Sort of waking up the cells in our body. And then we set an intention to start our practice. It sets a direction for the practice, if you will. Not necessarily a goal, but just an intention. It might be a virtue that you're cultivating. It might be something that you're inviting into your life this year. And just silently say that word or little phrase a few times to yourself silently, setting your intention. And then we open our class with a mantra. It's the sound of Om, the word Om. And Om really helps create a vibration, not only in this room, but it sends it out into the world. We extend our practice to all beings everywhere. So allow this Om to not only vibrate inside of you, but feel it move to your neighbors here in this room that make up this community, and then past the walls, maybe reaching someone in your life, or just to all beings everywhere. So we'll take a deeper inhale through the nose. Ah it out, ah it out. And then we'll Om on the next exhale. Letting the hands drop down to the thighs. The eyes softly flicker open, and then I'm going to invite you all to stand. And with your block, grab your block and place it in between your thighs, as high up toward the pubic bone as you can. And you'll notice by then having the thighs hug the block, you've already started a little engagement in the thighs. And notice the feet are about hip distance apart. Toes facing forward. Your second toe, especially facing forward, so that there's no turning out of the feet, no extra turning in, but just symmetry. And then stand up nice and tall and just notice for a moment, if you will, your midline, the center line. And tilt your head down so you notice it in between the feet. And then lift back up, and then draw the chin parallel with the earth, and then draw the head back a little bit. So when we look for spinal posture in daily life, in our practice, notice how my ears are moving toward my shoulder versus here, which is how we're most of the day. So we want to really bring awareness to our posture right now. And now really bring awareness to your low back and lengthen down through the low back. Notice the block starts to move forward. So really exaggerate that, lengthening back like you're tucking your tailbone, and notice how the block moves forward. And then just isolating in your pelvic area, maybe even bringing hands to hips. Now move the block back. You're internally rotating your thighs and a slight tilt up of the tailbone, but keeping the chest lifting up. So instead of leaning forward, you're keeping that spinal alignment, just isolating the pelvic movement. So move the pelvic forward, tucking the tailbone, moving that block forward, and then rotating back, a tilt of the tailbone. And just continue moving like this a little bit. Keep flowing. A little music on. And why is this important? important because in so many of our yoga movements, when we're looking for balance, when we're looking for spinal alignment in our seated poses, in hands and knees, in our standing poses, we look for our pelvic area for stability. So just bring all your awareness to this area and notice what's happening. And let's see if we can keep the block here. Find neutral. So really now notice your feet. Bring awareness to your feet. Your body weight naturally falls towards your heels. So just notice that for a moment and inhale the arms up by the ears. So reach the arms up, fingertips reaching up toward the sky. And now draw the arms down into the shoulder sockets. Draw your shoulder blades toward each other in the back. Notice if you're still able to maintain this spinal alignment where there's a lengthening in the low back. One more breath in and out. We call this, for the Sanskrit, Utthita Hastasana. Finding length in our arms without scrunching the shoulders up to our ears. So keep drawing the shoulder blades toward each other in the back. And now bring the palms together, interlace the fingers, index fingers pointing straight up. And take an inhale to lengthen, and then exhale, side bend to the left. And inhale through center, side bend to the right. Inhale through center, exhale, side bend to the left. Inhale through center, side bend to the right. One more time each, that if you're noticing any arch forming in the back, it's a signal to lengthen down through the low back. One more time over to the right. And then coming back to center, bring the arms down in front of you. Reach them forward. So notice what happens. The shoulders are rotating forward. There's a rounding of the shoulders forward. Now draw the arms back into the shoulder sockets. Draw the shoulder blades toward each other in the back. And just notice those sensations for a moment. And then we're going to cross our right elbow over our left. Reach the fingertips towards your shoulder blades. Giving yourself a little hug here. And just breathe into this stretch for the upper back. Maybe draw the elbows forward a little bit and up. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Release. Arms out in front of you. Draw arms into the shoulder sockets. And now we'll cross left elbow over right. Reach the fingertips toward the shoulder blades, giving yourself a hug. Let's drop the chin toward the chest this time on the side. Feel the opening in the cervical spine in the back of our neck. And here, notice where the weight is distributing in your feet. So if you started moving toward the balls of your feet, bring awareness to have the weight be in your heels. Almost where you feel like you're falling back, but you're not going to. One more breath in and out, and then release. Arms face forward and down to the sides. We're a little full today. Inhale the arms overhead, and then exhale with that block still where in between the thighs. Hinge forward. Bring hands to hips. And then notice here tilt your tailbone up, draw your belly in. Notice how the block moves toward the back of the room, internally rotating the thighs and widening across the sits bones. And then staying in this half lift, this flat back, maybe fingertips drop down to, depending on your height, your knees maybe, or your shins. For me, it's going to be closer to my shins. And bring awareness, breathe into the belly. Pressing into the feet, feeling that stretch for the hamstring muscles, those big muscles that go down the backs of our legs. Draw the belly in, the navel in and up. And now round, tuck your tailbone a little bit, not rounding the back, just the tailbone. And we'll continue to fold forward a little bit. And then bring the hands down to the mat. And then see if you can walk your feet back toward downward dog. Keep that block in between the thighs and drop the knees down to the mat to tabletop. So just one little motion there to come into tabletop. So that engagement still with the thighs against the block, going to move into cow and cat. So in cow and cat pose, we really want the movement to come from our pelvic area. It's not really, we're not moving the arms at all. We're not moving the shoulders. It's the pelvic area tilting down for cat pose. So exhale, round the spine and tuck that tailbone so the block's moving forward. And then on your inhale, move that block back as you tilt the tailbone up. The chest lifts a little bit, but don't make it too pronounced to still maintain that lengthening of the spine. Now tuck, excuse me, tuck the tailbone under as now add the head, the chin comes to the chest. And then inhale into cow where you're tilting the tailbone the opposite way and the chest naturally lifts. Try not to bend at the elbows at all. And then exhale, reversing into cat pose. And move like that for a few more rounds of breath. Beautiful. So think about when you're in cat pose, it's a stretch for the upper back area. Really not the shoulders, it's a broadening of the upper back. Your fingers should be spread. Your wrist creases, notice your wrist creases. They should be facing the top of your mat. And then find neutral. And remove that block. Finally, right? Like, when is she gonna take this block out? And then we're in hands and knees. And I want you to tuck your toes under, walk back so you're standing on your knees, and then reach down and just bring your pinky toe, flare it out so it's touching the mat. If accessible to you, maybe sit back on your heels. If that's too intense, it's a really, really good stretch for the inner arches and the toes and the feet. But you can come up, you can maybe sit back for a breath, or stay up on your knees the whole time. And then interlace your fingers, palms together, and just make some figure eights with your hands, with your wrists, to stretch them out a little bit after being on them for that length of time. And if you're sitting back, just breathing into that stretch for the toes, for the feet. One more breath in. and out, and we come back to tabletop. If you have the toes tucked under, go ahead and just tap out the tops of your feet. And then here in tabletop, draw the navel in. A slight tucking of the tailbone just to find that neutral spine. And then we're going to rock forward so shoulders come past the wrists. Make a big circle. Take the hips over to the right, back by your sits bones, around to the left. Coming forward again. Let's take that circle one more time, around to the right. Moving maybe a little deeper towards your heels. When you come back to center, reverse that circle, take it over to the left. I want you to really study yourself here. Notice how each side is feeling. If there's a particular spot that you're feeling this more in, if the knees are talking to you today or the hips, come back to neutral. And then we're going to extend the right leg back. So your toes are touching the earth. So don't lift it yet. Just extend that right leg back and flex the foot so your toe is resting on the mat. And now on an inhale, lift that right leg straight up and just keep it hip height. So your hips stay level and that foot is still flexed. And try now pushing through the heel of that right foot as if you're standing on the back wall with it. Bring your awareness to your hips and feel as though you're energetically pulling the hips towards your midline, and with stability, float that left arm up by the ear. Spinal balance. And the palm of that left hand is facing this wall on the right hand side to help the shoulder externally rotate. And the gaze is looking down so that you're not creating any pressure in the neck. And inhale, lengthen, exhale, draw the elbow to meet the knee, round the spine a little bit. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, elbow to knee. One more time to lengthen and then drop hand and knee down. And then we're going to stretch that right leg back again. Draw the right knee into your chest and step that right foot in between your hands. If you need to help use your right hand to bring that right foot forward, you can. And then lift up so your hands come onto your right side. And your shoulders stack with your hips. And then hips drawing toward the midline for stability, arms float up by the ears. And let's interlace the fingers here, index finger pointing straight up, and just reach, lengthen. Maybe a little arching of the upper back. And then trace the hands down your center line. With hands at heart center, twist to the right. And then lean the body forward. So keeping that lengthening going of the spine and your left elbow. Maybe it connects with that right knee. Press palm into palm. So that friction, that contraction of the palms pressing into each other, helping to ignite those muscles in the chest area, in the heart space. Full breath in, beautiful. Full breath out. Full breath in. Full breath out. And then inhale the hands back to center. Arms float up by the ears. And then exhale, hands down to the mat. Tuck your left toes under. You're going to lift that left knee, finding a low lunge. And then we're going to step that right leg back to find plank pose. Full breath in and out. And then push off your toes a little bit. So you rock your body forward, then drop your knees. Hug the elbows into the side body as we lower the full upper body to the mat. Setting up for our back bend cobra pose. If you feel tension in the low back, separate the legs a comfortable distance apart. Notice where your elbows are right now. If they're flaring out, hug them in to the side body. And just like we did earlier, draw your shoulder blades toward each other and down. So you're drawing your shoulders away from your ears. On your next inhale, tilt your pubic bone toward the mat and then lift the chest off the mat. And exhale, lower down. 2 more times. Inhale, floating the chest up. So the hands should be under your shoulders. So if your arms are out here, you want to bring your hands under the shoulders. So your elbows are like chicken wings. And then one more time. Inhale, keep those shoulders hugging in. And lower the chest down. And then we're going to push ourselves up on an inhale. Tuck your toes under. Push your seat to your heels. And straighten the legs. Downward facing dog. And then take a moment to drop one heel and bend the other knee and alternate. This is pedaling out your downward dog. Stretching the backs of the legs. Breathing in. Breathing out. And then find stillness in your downward dog. We're going to rock forward, dropping the hips, drop the knees down, coming back to tabletop. So we're going to work on the other side now. Lengthen that left leg so the toe is resting on the mat. Then inhale, lift it up, hip height. That left foot still is flexed. Push through the heel, really feel the lengthening of that left leg. Draw hips to midline, float the right arm up, spinal balance. Gaze is looking down. Really feel that lengthening. Beautiful. And then we'll start to move here. So inhale to lengthen and exhale, elbow kisses the knee. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, elbow to knee. One more time, lengthening and then drop to tabletop. Lengthen that left leg, hug that left knee in your chest as you bring that left foot forward in between your hands. Hands come to your thighs, your thigh, one thigh. Gently pressing to lift yourself up, shoulders stacking with hips. Hips drawing toward your midline, and then when you're ready, floating the arms up to the ears. Steady and sweet, the balance between the two. And then bring the hands together, interlace the fingers, index fingers pointing straight up, maybe reaching the upper back a little bit, getting a little back bend here in your Anjaneyasana. Trace your midline down to your heart space. Hands at heart center, we twist to the left. Fine, keeping that length, then lean forward to hook the elbow with the knee and press your palms together to feel those muscles in the chest contracting, creating some friction. Draw hips toward the midline. Pressing into the sole of that left foot, the top of the right foot. One more breath in and out, and then inhale, hands back to center. They float up by the ears and then sweep them down to the floor and tuck your right toes under to lift the right knee off the mat. Step the left leg back to find plank. Rock the body forward a little bit, drop knees. So you're gonna hug the elbows in, your wrist creases face forward, lower, building some arm strength here, lowering the upper body. Hug those elbows in. Inhale, lifting the upper body into cobra. And exhale, lower down. 2 more times. Inhale. It doesn't have to be a big movement. It can be a baby cobra. Exhale, lower down. Lengthening down through the low back to avoid any discomfort there. Lowering down, tuck toes under. Push yourself up. Push your seat to your heels. Then straighten the legs. Pedal out your downward dog again. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Find stillness, and I want you to lift your heels really high off the mat in downward dog. And then bend your knees so you're coming down about halfway. Push back. Push your belly to your tops of your thighs. And then tilt your tailbone up toward the sky. And now straighten the legs. One more breath in and out, and then rock the body forward back to plank. Drop your knees down. Sit back on your heels and then rock off to one side. Swing the legs out in front of you. And then scoot your sits bones towards your heels so you're bending your knees, and then lower to your forearms. Heel toe, your feet as wide as your mat. And then windshield wiper the knees over to the right. This left hip lifts a little bit. Inhale through center, and the knees drop over to the left. Inhale through center. Keep the chest lifting up toward the sky. So pressing into the forearms a little bit. And windshield wiper the knees to the left. And back to center. And then I want you to lower all the way to your back and hug your knees into your chest. Coming into, it's a very fancy name, pretzel legs. So lengthen your legs up toward the sky. The knees are bent, and then cross your right knee in front of your left and bend at your knees, flexing your feet, and see if you can grab. So left fingers are going to wrap around this left calf, and then try and reach the right fingers to wrap around the left calf and draw down. So the tricky part here is to try and keep your feet flexed and to keep your low back, the middle back, all pressing into the mat. And release tension in the shoulders. Maybe draw the knees closer into your chest. See if you can even out your feet. So the tendency is that left leg's going to drop lower. See if you can lift it up so that your shins, the shin bones, are in line and facing the ceiling. Feet are flexed, and then you're hugging the thigh, your right thigh, toward your chest. Good stretch, yeah? All right, one more inhale. And exhale, release. Shake out the legs a little bit. Maybe take the legs wide for one breath, and then we're gonna do the other side. So bring them back together, cross left knee in front of right. So really hug those thighs in toward each other as we start to bend the knees. Take your right hand, fingers wrap around that calf. This is the hard one. Left fingers reach and draw that right leg in a little bit. Keep the feet flexing. The right leg now is going to have the tendency to drop down. You want to try and level it out. And breathe in. Yes, this is what we call cow face pose, but doing it on our back. So you might see one of our friends in the room or couple doing it seated. This makes it a little bit more accessible before we're able to move toward every pose has a starting point and kind of intermediate and then advanced. So beautiful way to get the benefits of the stretch on our backs. One more breath in. Draw the thighs toward the chest just a little bit more, really feeling it in the hip flexors. Then release. Take the legs out wide. Breathe them back in toward each other. Hug them in toward your chest. Rock a little bit from side to side. Massage out the back. And options to come up to tabletop. So either begin to rock forward and back, getting enough momentum. Actually, let's not go to tabletop yet. Everybody rock and roll forward. Come up on your sits bones. Touch your toes to the mat. Lift the chest. This is called boat pose. We're coming up high on your sits bones. When you feel ready, maybe the legs float up. The fingertips can stay under the knees to help support you. You want to be lifting your chest up. Maybe the arms can float out to the side. Maybe the legs straighten. Or maybe you just stay here today, which is beautiful because you're getting all the benefits. You feel that engagement in the belly. We're balancing on our sits bones and we're breathing. Everybody breathing? And release those feet to the mat as wide as your mat. Bring your hands in front and bring the chest through. Lengthen up. And then on your exhale, round the spine. Dropping back on your tailbone. Inhale, bringing the chest through and up. And exhale, rounding the spine. And come back to upright. Now cross at the ankles, rolling forward to tabletop. Tuck your toes under, push your seat to your heels, lift your hips, find downward facing dog. And little challenge here, we're gonna lift one leg and then the other. So draw the belly in, finding your downward dog here. Bring the feet a little closer together toward the center of your mat. And then you're gonna balance on the left foot as you lift your right leg up. Lift it up, lift it up, lift it up. Bend the right knee. Lift that right knee up toward the ceiling. And then straighten the right leg, rebend it. So it's like you're kicking your butt because we all need a little kick in the butt sometimes. All right, keep your shoulders squared. If that left shoulder is collapsing, adjust, bring that right leg back down to the floor, other side. Inhale, left leg lifts, lift it up, lift it up, lift it up. The right heel is lifted as well. Bend that left knee, lift the left knee up toward the sky. Kick your butt a few times on this side. Notice if that right shoulder is collapsing and try and square the shoulders. Beautiful, everyone. So opening up that hip and then lowering that left leg to the mat. Nice job. One more time, lift the right leg. This time we're gonna hug the right knee into the chest. And then step that right foot forward. Maybe you need your right hand to bring it forward. And then spiral your left heel down. So you're planting that left foot. Your feet should be on 2 planks of wood. So notice, just look down and notice that your left toes are moving toward the left edge of your mat. The right knee bending to a 90-degree angle. Bring your hands to your hips. So find a flat back here before we lift up all the way. Lengthen down through your tailbone. Maybe the arms straighten out behind you. I like to call these Superman arms. And then on your next inhale, lifting up to find warrior one pose. Breathe in. Breathe out. Soften your shoulders. Breathe in. Breathe out. Sweep the arms behind your back. Interlace your fingers and either straighten your arms, drawing the shoulder blades toward each other behind, or bring knuckles to your sacrum. And then we're going to bow the heart forward. This is called humble warrior. Requires some balance. So focus on a spot down on your mat called a drishti. And then inhale to lift back up. Float the arms back up to the ears. We're going to open now to warrior two. So you're going to start to turn your hips to this TV wall. You're going to move the left foot back a little bit so that the feet are more in line with each other. Your right heel is pretty much in line with your left arch. And then bending that right knee, arms shoulder height. Look behind you. That's your past. Look in front. Look in front. That's your future. And now feel your hips as your present. Breathe in. Breathe out. Straighten the right leg. Drop your left hand down and flip your right palm up and reach those right fingertips up to the sky. Peaceful warrior. Breathing here, another 3 breaths. Really feel the lengthening of the entire right side. Breathe into your intercostal muscles in that rib cage. One more breath in, and then exhale back to warrior two. And we're going to take the right hand down, spiral the back foot so your left hand can drop down, step the right leg back, find plank pose. So we can do a vinyasa here. We can drop down, lower, do our back bend, or for some, maybe go right into downward dog. So vinyasa, friends, rock the body forward, drop the knees, hug the elbows in and lower. So you don't want to snake down. It's not, everybody come back to tabletop for a minute and watch up here for a moment. I just don't want anybody's back to hurt. So watch tabletop. I'm going to pitch my body forward so I'm at an angle. I'm not lowering my thighs to then lower all the way down like that, because I don't know about you, but that hurts my lower back. I'm coming here, hug the elbows in, and then look, I'm lowering my thighs, my pelvic, my belly, all at the same time. And by pitching the body forward a little bit, then your hands, when you lower, your hands are under your shoulders, setting up for the proper alignment of cobra. Otherwise, if your hands are too far forward, your shoulders are here, and then you're going to clench the low back when you come into cobra. So finding tabletop, lean the body forward, then hug the elbows in, lower the whole upper body at the same time. Beautiful. And inhale into cobra. Exhale, lower down, tuck the toes under, push your seat to your heels, straightening the legs, downward dog. We've got the other side. Inhale the left leg up, hug that left knee into the chest, step that foot forward, and then drop your right heel down, spiraling that foot down. We're bending the left knee. Bring your hands to your hips. Find a flat back. Maybe the arms come behind if that feels better for you, Superman arms. And then on your next inhale, we lift up, warrior one. Breathe in, breathe out. And lengthening in that back leg. Maybe bending a little deeper in that left knee. Our stance is not as wide in warrior one. It's a lot harder for our hips to turn forward than opening to the side. So now as we rotate the hips to the right, you're going to move that back foot so it's more in line with the left heel. Maybe the stance widens a little bit. Your seat is sinking down. Warrior two, shoulders stacked with hips, your spine perpendicular with the floor. Another breath in. And yes, I forgot humble warrior. We'll do it after this. Drop your right hand down, straighten your left leg, flip your left palm, and reach left fingers up. So finding length here. Breathing into this left side, feeling the stretch maybe in this left hip flexor. One more breath in, and then exhale back to warrior two. We're going to spiral down, so we pivot that back foot, and then coming back into warrior one, step that right foot forward a little bit, drop the heel down, inhale, lifting up to warrior one. Interlace hands behind the back, either knuckles to sacrum or extend the arms. And we bow the chest, the heart toward the earth. Inhale to lift up. Arms float back up. Hands to hips. Bend into that left knee and step that right foot forward. Finding mountain pose. This actually was perfect how it worked out because we're moving into balance. So it was perfect. Grab one of your blocks. Place it on the outside of your left foot. So for balance, if you prefer to balance on the wood, you can. If you do need wall space, sure you can slide in somewhere. But we're going to do eagle pose. Eagle pose, that movement we did on our backs, where we squeeze the thighs together, crossing our knees. We're going to do that standing now. The block is there for your toe to rest on. And then we're going to add the arms. We hugged ourselves earlier, just like this. So this is going to be an option for some of you. For others who have done this before, I'll guide us where our arms are in front of us. We still cross at the elbows instead of hugging. Then we bend, bring the backs of the hands together. Or we wrap the hands where the palms touch. But giving yourself a hug is a beautiful place to be. So come to stand, and that block is outside the left foot. Look down, make sure you're seeing that center line. So to start, we bend the knees a little bit. We put weight in the left foot as we start to shift our weight, and we're going to lift this right knee up. We're going to cross that right leg past the midline, and then we're going to drop the right toes to the block. As you start to squeeze the thighs together, bring hands to hips and see if you can get small here. See if you could squeeze those thighs together. Squeeze the hips together. Drop your sits bones down. Lift the chest so you're standing upright and not falling forward. And that might be where you stay. You can keep your hands on your hips. Or to add on, we lift the arms. We cross right elbow under left. Either giving yourself a hug here, or bend the elbows back so the hands touch, or maybe wrapping the hands. Draw shoulder blades toward each other in the back and move the shoulders away from your ears and try lifting the elbows up a little. Squeeze the thighs together, maybe sink in your seat just a little bit more, and then inhale, lift up. We're gonna release, big release. Take that right leg out to the side, letting your eagle fly. Shake it out. That's right. Block comes to the right side of your right foot. Standing in Tadasana. Bending the knees a little bit, putting weight in your right foot. Let's bring hands to hips. Left knee lifts up. Cross that knee past your midline and then wrap. Left toes drop to your block, thighs squeeze together, upper body lifting up, chest lifting up, adding arms. Left elbow under right, either giving yourself a hug here, working there, or wrapping the arms, draw shoulder blades toward each other and down the back. Once you've done that, then maybe lift the elbows, maybe sink in your seat, getting smaller. The gaze is strong, looking straight ahead. And then inhale to lift up. Let your eagle fly on that side. Shake it out. And find Tadasana. Inhale, arms up in front of you. Inhale, the arms out to the side. Inhale, the arms overhead. And exhale, bend the knees. Exhale out through your mouth. Inhale, inhale. Inhale, 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 a little faster. Inhale, inhale, inhale. One more. And Tadasana, one hand over your heart, one hand over your belly. Soften the gaze or close the eyes. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Press the palms into the body just a little bit more. Really feel your own prana, your life force. As we move into cooling the body down, this is the part of our practice where we turn inward more. We listen more deeply. We tell our nervous system that we've done a good job. Time to settle into a calmer state of being. Slowly lower yourself to the mat. Come all the way onto your back. Hugging the knees into your chest. And rock a little bit from side to side. Drop the feet to the mat. Lift your hips about an inch and shift your hips to the right. Drop your back to the mat and hug your knees into your chest, and then let them drop down to the left, coming into our revolved abdomen twist. Our thighs and knees are stacking, creating a 90-degree angle, and then extend your right arm out. Yes, you might say hi to your neighbor. Maybe a block in between the thighs if the low back is feeling especially tight. Our twists detoxify us. So breathe in what you want to take into this new year with you. Breathe out what you want to let go of and not bring. One more breath in. And then inhale back to center, lower the feet to the mat. Adjust your spine back to neutral. Same adjustment on the other side. Lift your hips just an inch off the mat. Shift them over to the left. Lower the back down and then hug the knees into your chest and roll them down to the right side. Lock in between the thighs if you did it on the other side. Left arm extending out to help this left shoulder, or if there's not enough space for it to fully extend, maybe the elbow bends. So it's in the shape of goalpost or cactus. Right fingers can rest on top of that left knee to help keep those legs stacked. So we're looking for those thighs and knees to really be in line with your navel, and that the twist is coming from your navel up. So visualize your breath right now, entering right into your navel. Full breath in. Full breath out. One more full breath in. And out, and then inhale, knees back to center, feet to the mat. Bring the soles of the feet together. Butterflying the knees. Letting the knees come out to the sides. Maybe hands rest on the belly, or they can just drop down to the floor. We'll take 5 breaths here. We call this the straw breath, where you inhale through the nose. And then as you exhale through the mouth, imagine you're gently blowing through a straw. So pursing the lips. 4 more rounds at your own pace. So inhale through the nose. And just a gentle exhale through that straw. Maybe one hand's over the heart, one hand's over the belly here to feel that natural rise and fall of the breath in your body. Last round of that straw breath. And then slowly extend one leg out long at a time on your mat. Separating the legs a comfortable distance apart, so that You can release any effort in the legs. Release any effort in the arms coming down to the floor, comfortable distance away from you. Take a deep inhale through the nose and it out through the mouth. And silently repeat to yourself, every part of me is beautiful. Every part of me is beautiful. So it's here in Shavasana where we reap the benefits of our physical practice. The gift of stillness. More powerful than stretching any muscle. Remembering your mat being a rectangle of retreat. Breathing in gratitude for being here and being present. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is relax. Soften the feet, the toes, the legs, the knees. The hips and sits bones. Soften the back side of the body. Soften the fingers and the hands and the arms. And soften the shoulders and the neck. And soften the back of the head. Soften the jaw. Letting the tongue rest in your mouth. There's a mythical story about eagle pose, about a large bird, Garuda. Garuda has to face many obstacles. Very large bird. And some of these obstacles, he has to reduce himself to being small. Another obstacle is igniting his courage and fierceness. And as the myth relates it to humans, in a sense, we are all a bit like Garuda. We are spiritual beings who are larger than life. Eagle pose, where we start with arms and legs open and extended, and then the body reduces in size as we pull into ourselves. We hold the pose and then release, releasing to openness. So as spiritual beings living a human experience, we are constantly faced with obstacles that we overcome by turning to our divine nature. Just like Garuda did. Start to wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes, circling wrists and ankles, and deepening your breath. And maybe on an inhale, floating the arms overhead for a long stretch. And then hugging knees into your chest and rolling onto your right side. Please take that pause before coming up to a seat. It just helps to avoid any lightheadedness. Take a couple of breaths on your right side in that fetal position, and then slowly pressing into the hands to lift yourself up. Crossing the legs again, sitting in Sukhasana or the legs extended, keeping the eyes soft. Inhale the arms overhead, palms touch, just like we did in practice, drawing down your center line. Hands to heart space, a soft bow of the head toward your heart to thank yourself for being here. I thank you for being here. Recall your intention you said at the start of practice. And with that intention in your mind, we'll Om, inhale, exhale the breath out. There's a victorious word in Sanskrit, Jai. Jai. Great class, everyone. Thank you so much. Wow. I didn't. I have no idea. How many are here? I know, Joy. 34. Thank you all so much. Just so touched. Olivia, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was awesome.
You look familiar.
Doing all kinds of different stuff. Oh my God. Well, that's why I said about because once you kind of get out of the way and then you bring yourself Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's such a strong practice in itself.
Everybody what? Mary, yeah, Mary, but she said she's getting over it. And there's COVID going around.
Yeah. Your haircut looks adorable, by the way. Oh, it's a okay. I will. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Bye. So, darling. Yeah.
Just want to show you the picture. That's great.